Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2016 Bowman County Commissioner Candidate Forum. I'm Bryce Martin, editor of the Bowman County Pioneer. Tonight, I'm joined by Trevor Stake, president of the Bowman County Farm Bureau's Board of Directors. There are 10 candidates running for office, and 8 have agreed to attend this evening. Candidates Margie Russ and Brandy Getz were unable to participate. All candidates will proceed to the primary election June 14th. And the 6 with the most votes will head to the general election November 8th. We will host a final county commission forum prior to the general election in November. There are 3 seats available on the commission, with Commissioner Bill Bowman retiring and Commissioners Pine Abrahamson and Rick Broughton seeking re-election to their respective seats. In the interest of time tonight, and because there are many candidates, we will not be asking every question of each candidate, with the exception of the first question. Those respondents have been pre-selected at random. However, if a candidate has a rebuttal to any question asked of another candidate, we ask that they raise their hand and provide a 30-second rebuttal. All answers will be limited to 1 minute. Following our questions, we will open the floor to questions from the audience. Now, please welcome the 2016 candidates for the Bowman County Commission: Mr. Dave Anderson, Mr. Jerry Jeffers, Mr. Chris Johnson, Commissioner Rick Broughton, Mr. John McGee, Mr. Dale Palczewski, Commissioner Pine Abrahamson, and Mr. Bruce McLaughlin. Okay, so opening statements are limited to 30 seconds, and we'll begin with Mr. Anderson and proceed down the line.
Hello, I'm Dave Anderson. I have lived most of my life in Bowman County. Reason I'm running for commissioner is for a number of years past, I have been asked to run. At this time, I feel I have the time to be able to dedicate and serve as a Bowman County Commissioner.
I don't think Dave had that on, so I will try and turn it on. As a lifelong tax-paying resident of Bowman County, I have a deep commitment to the area and the communities in our county. I own and operate the family farm southwest of Rame, which has been in my family since 1909. When we homesteaded there. My wife Karen and I have been married for 9 years. Between us, we have 6 grown grandchildren. Our 6 grown children, and we're very proud of our 11 grandchildren. In addition to the farm and my family commitment, I own and operate a small cabinet making business producing fine furniture and other items.
Still?
Yep.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Chris Johnson. I live here in Bowman, work in Rame, North Dakota at the wind farm for MDU. My wife and I, Amanda, own and operate the Subway restaurant in Bowman. We brought that in about 3 years ago. And I guess the reason I'm running for county commissioner, I feel that I have the time that I can dedicate to this and make Bowman have a brighter future, Bowman County have a brighter future for all of us. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm running for re-election for Bowman County Commission. I'm currently serving my 8th year as county commissioner. I've been chairman for 4 of those years, and I've served on the resolution committee for the North Dakota Association of Counties. And I also serve on several county boards.
Hello, everyone. Is it working?
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm John McGee. I thought about running for county commissioner for
several years, and when Commissioner Bill Bowman retiring, I decided to come from a family where serving on various boards has been part of family life. And being the owners of a farm and a business and being on various boards before, I feel I have the qualifications to be a commissioner. With the kids growing and us not running the school and community activities, I feel I would have the time to devote to this job.
Good evening. It's good to be here. I have some deep roots here in Bowman County. And I care about people, and I want to make a contribution, make things better, and to serve everyone as best that I can. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. I'm Pioneer Granson. I'm currently one of the 5 county commissioners. I am seeking re-election. I was born and raised in Bowman County and lived here my whole life. I am involved in self-employed ag businesses. I've had the opportunity to serve on numerous boards and committees throughout the years. I'm very committed to this position and having the best interest for the residents of Bowman County in mind.
Hello, I'm Bruce McLaughlin. I guess I had decided to run for the board just to try to help improve things. I'm currently on the township board, and I feel like our township has as good a roads as any township in the county, not better, and try to keep our taxes down, not overspend. I currently serve on our township board, the fair board, the all season board. Just want to try to help improve things.
Thank you. Now we'll start with Bruce, and we'll say, why specifically have you chosen to run for county commissioner? Is there something you will seek to change or improve?
Well, one thing I think we need to take a good hard look.
I think you did. Turn it off.
So, one thing I'd like to, I'm currently employed with the county on the road department, and which, if I would get elected, again, I would have to, it'd be too much of a controversy to stay there. But I think that for the amount of money we're spending on our roads, we aren't getting our bang for our buck. I mean, we're spending several $100,000 a mile, and we're getting 5 or 6 years out of some of these roads. And I don't know if we need to look at, maybe we need to look at hiring our own engineer. Maybe these current commissioners have. But I think something needs to be looked into as far as that part of it, maybe exploring that cost-wise and stuff.
Go right to mine. Specifically, why have you chosen to run for county commissioner again?
I haven't know. Is it on?
Just leave it on.
Just leave it on. It has a little bit of a delay too.
I have no agenda for running for commissioner. I guess I enjoy serving. I like the people. When we get a problem, you get to fix it. And I don't mind that. I don't mind phone calls. If we get complaints, I like to take care of them. I guess I enjoy it. I can't say why I want to be here, but I enjoy it.
Go ahead, Dan.
You're not going to tell me what the question is.
Oh, same question. The same question. Why specifically have you chosen to run for county commissioner?
I live right in the southeast corner between Adams County, Bowman County, and Harding County. and I got 3 grandkids. And I just want to represent not only the people down in the corner, but all the people of Bowman County. And I think it'll be just a good experience to go through, to learn, and to see what actually goes on. And if I have some big ideas and think I can get it done, and it doesn't happen, maybe my big ideas aren't so good. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any hidden agenda either for doing this. It's, like I said, my family have always been involved with various boards and stuff. Doing that, it's a contribution that all of us need to do, and I kind of figure that same way.
I guess the reason I'm running again for county commissioner is I enjoy working for the people. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job at doing that. Yeah, we all have an opinion, and sometimes it's not the way everybody wants it, but we try to do the best we can, and I would like to continue doing that.
Well, the reason I'm running for county commissioner, I feel that I'd be a good voice for the people of Bowman County. I'm not coming in with an agenda. I feel I can speak for people. I feel people can call me, talk to me, let me know what their feelings are, and I would help support that. I don't have an agenda of my own. I grew up in politics. My dad's been a legislator since 1993. I've been around Bismarck all that time, learning from those guys. I think they've run the state pretty well, and I've learned a lot about budgets and different things in that time frame. And I felt it was just the right time to step into this, not quite at that level, but more of a county level where I feel I can dedicate my time. So.
Yeah, thank you. This is an important year for Bowman County. We have over half of the seats available on the county commission. I feel with my past experience and leadership on various civics boards and government-related boards, I have the ability to fill one of those positions, and from that's why I've decided to run.
I too have served on township board 26 years, president Lutheran Church Council, I was, and to spread the budget can be challenging, and to keep Bowman County moving forward, I believe will also be challenging. So this is why I'm seeking a seat as commissioner.
And just to let everyone know, Joe will have this time when you have 10 seconds left, and then she'll hold this when it's time up.
Just to give you a little heads up.
Yeah. So don't talk when the red sign comes up. All right. So we'll start with Mr. Anderson. Do you agree with the county's purchase of the former airport land and the local property for the creation of an industrial park? Why or why not?
I'm not negative to anything that can benefit Bowman County. But I must say I struggle with the location. The simple reason is, well, it isn't so simple, it's wet. Look over here on 11th Avenue, the work that's being done. It involves high water table. Are we going to face that same issue out at the old airport? But I am in favor if it benefits the residents of Bowman County. I'm not just thinking Bowman, I'm talking Rayne and Scranton area. And I was brought up to me this morning, one of the highway bypasses Bowman. I realize there's been a feasibility study done from 14 to the end of 15. Time's up.
All right, Mr. McGee, the same question.
Well, the way I feel about it, it's a done deal. So what we're looking at is we're gonna have to try and work within our financial means to make it work for the county.
Mr. Johnson, same question.
That's all. Look there. Well, that's the same way I feel about it. I guess it's a done deal. It's been put into place, and from this point forward, I think we need to all get behind it and support it. Was I in favor of it when it first came about? No, absolutely not. I thought there was other places to spend the money, and at this point now, I mean, that's what we have to do. We gotta get behind it. We gotta make sure the right things go into place out there, and the money's spent right, I guess. So.
And finally, Mr. Palczewski, the same question. Would you support the county's purchase of the former airport land and the local property for the creation of an industrial park?
Well, it was brought up that high water table. Actually, I'm working with Wilson Construction on 11th Avenue. And there is things that can be done to keep the water from actually causing any more damage. But there has been damage done on 11th Avenue. Steps are being taken, and it's taken a lot of money, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm in favor of it. Build it and they shall come, right? I hope.
Okay,
Is the mic on?
Just leave it on.
Okay, you can all leave the mic on.
okay, the next question. Bowman County, oh, go ahead, yep.
I just want to let everybody know kind of the reason why the county did do what they did on that deal. Part of the reason was the weed board was looking for a new building or a different building to store their spraying equipment in. And that was part of the reason. And one of the costs for that, they got an estimate for it. It came to about $200,000. And there were buildings out there that we could use that for them. Another one was the wetland mitigation. The county can have, well, it could end up with approximately 6 credits of wetlands valued at between $15,000 and $20,000 a credit. There's also millings that were taken out of the old runway, that 15,000 yards that are valued at $20 a yard. So you add that all up, it comes to about $600,000. Sorry for going over time.
Does anybody else have anything to say on that? Okay, the next question. Bowman County has experienced a rise in drug-related crimes, specifically along the highway corridors. How would or have you worked with the sheriff's office to combat these incidents? We'll start with Mr. McLaughlin. Bruce.
I guess I have worked with the sheriff's department on any of that, and never been involved in any of that. I guess it's up to the law enforcement, your sheriff and state's attorney to take care of that stuff. I guess as far as the commissioner, I guess you'd want to make sure the sheriff and state's attorney are doing their job. Other than that, I don't know what else you can really do about it as a commissioner.
Okay. Mr. Jeffers, Jerry? Same question.
Law enforcement in the area has a big job, not just the drug stuff, but they have other things on their plate. If, as a commissioner, we would feel that we weren't getting the jobs done, we would perhaps have to put some additional people in place. There's a little bit more to just working with a drug problem than just arresting somebody. There are situations where you have to get those folks to rehabilitation. You have to transport them and all of that sort of thing. So there's a lot of things involved. The main thing is that we need to put an example forward of those folks that are on the bad element, and so that we don't continue to have that.
Okay. Commissioner Broughton, Chris? Same question.
Could you
About the
repeat the
drugs.
question?
Okay, Bowman County has experienced a rise in drug-related crimes, specifically along the highway corridors. How have or would you work with the sheriff's office to combat these incidents? Let's talk about the crime or any of the drugs with working with the sheriff's department.
Well, I guess first of all, that kind of comes down to your, how much financing your county sheriff's department has to work with that. I mean, if you only have 2 or 3 guys patrolling the streets or the roads or whatever, it's pretty hard to combat some of that stuff. And we have to operate within our means as far as budget goes. We don't really want to increase that if we don't have to.
Okay. And Commissioner Abrahamson, fine. Same question.
The drugs on the highway, part of it is, it all goes back to, like Bruce said, and like Rick said, it goes back to the finances. They don't come down and tell us what the drug traffic is, where it's at, what's happening. The reason they don't is because it's an open meeting. Anybody can come in and hear it. If they hear it, well, now they know how to combat it right away. So when budget comes around, we can, if Rory would come down or our sheriff would come down and say, we need a little more money to combat this. Okay, that's when we got to look into it and say, we can give you more or we can't.
Back to Commissioner Abrahamson. Bowman County's oil revenue has been decreasing because of the downturn in oil. What do you believe are more viable revenue streams that could maintain the county's budget, or should there be departmental cuts?
Well, the good thing is oil is coming up right now, slowly, so it does help. We have, and this is, I would say it's a factor. To the best of my recollection, I would say we're probably down 50 to 75% of what our max was. At that, I do think we're going to be looking at budget cuts. What they are, I can't tell you until we get to that budget time frame.
Mr. Johnson, I'll ask you the same question.
There we go. The delay. I guess a person probably shouldn't budget based on oil alone. It's a too volatile market to be setting your budget. You know, I don't set my budget because this month I've made $10,000 and next month I make $2,000. I can't do that. I've got to set a base, and I think, you know, the oil's been good for the last few years. So I think everybody's gotten excited and started spending a lot of money and didn't put enough away, and that gets to be a problem, I guess. So I think we need to set realistic budgets, realistic goals, so we don't have to get into that situation where we're cutting a lot of people loose, you know, cutting programs, different things like that. You know, I think we need to have our base there, but we can't expand beyond our means either. So.
Mr. McGee?
Want to repeat the question here?
Yeah. Because Bowman County's oil revenue has been decreasing because of the downturn in oil, what do you believe are more viable revenue streams that could maintain the county's budget, or should there be departmental budget cuts?
Well, I think for the main part, you pretty much know what your income is. The oil will go back and forth, and I think most of the departments can't figure out if they would have to take a budget cut, a certain cut. I think most of the department heads would pretty much be able to know where they could do it. As far as we know right now, without seeing anything, I really couldn't make a big comment to that.
And Mr. Anderson, same question. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Bowman County's oil revenue has been decreasing because of the downturn in oil. What do you believe are more viable revenue streams that could maintain the county's budget, or should there be departmental budget cuts?
We should look at our priorities and such as our roads, our infrastructure, and see what needs to be done there. Department cuts. We don't want to lose people because there'll come a time where we'll need them back, and they're trained, and that's it.
Anybody have anything else to add? Go ahead, Rick.
As far as the oil revenue goes, 80% of the oil revenue that the county takes in goes to the road and bridge department. So if we were gonna cut anything, it'd be probably a road project or two. We've kind of done that this year. A lot of our work is just gonna be maintaining certain roads, except for the Sunset View Road, but that's funded with surge money, so we're fine there.
Go ahead, fine.
One more thing we have done is we have froze our BLM funding. We have froze our BLM spending, let me get that straight. That is one of our big components that we help people with. And our county has never spent, since I've been there, we have never spent money we haven't had on hand.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add? Okay, the next question. Where do you believe are the largest failures in the county's infrastructure, if any, and why? We'll start with Mr. Anderson.
Failures in the infrastructure. Is this thing on? No. Am I on?
Yep.
All right. Infrastructure, I haven't seen any bad failures, but I'm sure there's always something that needs work, and it gets spendy, costly, but they cannot be ignored.
Okay. Mr. McGee, same question. Where do you believe are the largest failures in the county's infrastructure, if any?
Right now, I would probably say roads and bridges. And I don't know, I wouldn't really call it a failure. I would say that it's just things that we definitely need to keep working on and keep up, mainly for the safety of our residents.
Okay. Commissioner Abrahamson.
I guess I don't see any failures out there. We've tried a few projects on some of our roads. They haven't worked like we were led to believe or anticipated. Maybe because of the wet conditions we've had, but I don't see failures out there.
Okay. And Mr. Johnson, same question.
I guess as far as failures go, I don't know if I go that far to call them failures, but I think anybody that drives around, south of Rame or goes out that way, there's a lot of roads that need work out there. I think oil field trucks have beat them up. I think just heavy traffic down there have beat the roads up and they need a lot of work. So I don't know if that's so much as a failure or the road just wasn't made to withstand that kind of traffic, or, you know, we continue to look at different options of fixing the road or getting them to split the cost a little better with us, or that's probably the only things I can point out, I guess.
Anybody else have any? Go.
I don't think we have any huge failures, but I think there's room for improvement. And, you know, when I made an opening statement, that isn't my only reason for getting on here. It's just road. It's not like it's a personal agenda. But that's something that I think I'm a little more familiar with than a lot of guys, and just for what I'm doing. But I don't think there's failures, but I think we need to try to improve, you know, the amount of money we're spending, you know, on road, to do a mile of road. You know, we always want to try to improve so that it lasts longer.
Okay. Dale, got something?
I think the biggest problem is the truck traffic, where the trailers are overloaded. And, closer? Sure. Amateur hour up here, sorry. I've noticed where our roads really get beat up is the grain trucks, semis, and, they take advantage of the situation some of the partners do. So that's one of the biggest problems, I think, is keeping the weight down and the speed down on the heavy trucks.
Okay. Anybody else? Rick, go ahead.
I used to be talking about improving roads. To me, that costs a lot of money. Where are you gonna get the money from with the oil revenues down? The last 3 years, the county spent over $23 million just on county roads. And most of that money is in like a paved road, not a chip seal, but a paved road. And that's improving it, in my opinion.
Anybody else have anything on that question?
All right. Commissioner Bratton, Apex Clean Energy is currently in a testing phase to determine if Bowman County is the best placement for an extensive wind farm. Would you like to see that wind farm built in the future?
I guess that project to me is kind of up to the landowners wherever that's gonna be put. I assume it's gonna be, they're talking south of Rain and Bowman, in between there somewhere, I guess. And to me, it'd be up to the landowners if they really want it or not. I mean, it would benefit the county too, but I guess that's would be my opinion on that.
Mr. Palczewski, same question.
Oh, I have to agree with Mr. Broughton here. It's the landowners, the people that actually live there, that have to put up with them or take advantage of them. That would have to be their own decisions, I would say. If the landowner wanted them, I think he should have it. But if they want to fight it, then they can fight it.
Mr. Jeffers, same question.
In the current stage of the project that you mentioned, it is in a very early thinking stage, so it really isn't, it's a moot point at this part. But I believe that any time that you affect residents of the county, as a commissioner, you have to just take a look at that and decide if it's beneficial to county as going forward, or if it's going to be detrimental to the folks that are going to have to put up with the project, whether it be a wind farm, oil wells, whatever. So I think that it's something that needs a lot of time to be spent on, and you're not going to satisfy all the people all the time. So, but I think as commissioner, it behooves us to try and satisfy most of the people that would be affected.
And Mr. McLaughlin?
I think it'd be good for the community, you know, bring some jobs and and some families down hopefully, but like the other guy said, ultimately it's up to the landowners. Because they're the ones that have to look at that windmill every day and put up with it, so basically it's up to the landowner as far as I'm concerned too.
Okay, we're gonna stick with you for the next question. What, yes,
I think it's fair for me to chime in on this one. I have worked in the wind industry for the last 9 years.
you might actually want to answer the
The next question? Okay. I want to say that it should be up to the landowners. I think if it's your land, it is up to you what goes on your property. But what I do want to say is I think it diversifies your land quite a bit by adding that wind tower to your land. I know if you read the letters to the editor, a lot of that's not true. And I think Bowman County has a lot of people here, or has wind towers in Bowman County already, and you can go out there and do your own research, talk to us, or talk to the landowners that currently have wind towers on their land. I think that'd be your best resource to find out the true facts of wind power. So.
back to Mr. McLaughlin. What are your personal views, not necessarily as a commissioner if elected, what are your views on clean energy sources such as wind?
Well, I guess it'd be good for the community to know that. But personally, what's the cost of it? You know? Is it that much? Is it any cheaper than our other power? I'm not against wind power, but I don't want to pay extra for it either. I guess that's about all I got to say.
Commissioner Broughton, same question.
Could you repeat that again?
Yes. What are your views on clean energy sources such as wind?
I guess I don't know if I have a particular view on it. I guess I'm probably kind of old fashioned that way. I guess I rely on our fossil fuels, but kind of would favor that over solar energy or wind energy. I think it's more dependable.
Mr. Anderson, same question.
I have a question. All this wind power, is it gonna be keep up with our growth? I recall when you talk about wind power, you take a windmill on a well out in the middle of a pasture, and it's 90 to 100 degrees out, but no wind. There's some thirsty cows. But it is clean, and I believe it's up to the landowner if he wants that scattered across his property. We cannot control everything. But like it was mentioned here, if it's clean power, shouldn't have to pay more for it.
And Commissioner Abrahamson, same question.
I guess I really have no opinion on it. I think there's a need for it in certain places. I wouldn't care to pay for more power with wind versus our coal. The cost of it would be one of my biggest concerns. Will it pay itself back? I talked to when I first become commissioner, we went down to, I believe it was Bearpaw Energy, and they were telling me some numbers when a lightning storm comes through and flips their breakers. And I cannot remember what the numbers were, but they were huge. Each time one of them breakers flipped on and off, and I says, well, just get some wind towers. That'll solve it. They said they couldn't put up enough wind towers to make it work.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Wind and solar power are relatively new to us in this country. You go into Iowa and California and so on, you'll see a lot of both those powers being used. The efficiency is not there yet, but I remember a few years back we put solar panels on a well, took 5 panels to pump the water out of that well. Fellow told me yesterday that he's got 3 panels on a well pumping water, 4 times as much water and from twice as deep. So the technology is changing. And I think as it does, I think this is a viable means of power, but at the present time, the efficiency is not there.
I think wind industry, to understand it fully, it's not a replacement to coal, and I think everybody needs to know that. The wind towers are a good supplemental power to coal power. You're not going to replace it completely. Coal is still the way to go. With EPA regulations and everything that's put on coal, wind towers actually end up being cheaper to build. And I think in a lot of cases, you know, with government tax credits and everything else, wind power is the way to go at the current time. Now, if some of the EPA regulations are lifted, coal would probably be the way to go again. So that's kind of a summary.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for wind? The next subject. Do you believe there have been any failures on behalf of the county to either protect or help support our county's farmers and ranchers? Why or why not? Help support or failures on our thing? Mr. McGee, start with you.
As far as
Anything that you think the county has done?
I don't think the county has done anything that's made it bad for the farmers, ranchers. Once again, they do try to keep up most of the roads and stuff. The biggest thing is, like I think it was Dale said, some of the farmers abuse that, and that's one of the big problems that would have to be looked at. But as far as anything the county doing harm them, I don't think there's anything there.
Same question for you, Mr. Polcheski.
No, I don't really think the commissioners or the commission has hurt the farmers, ranchers. I think they've tried to help. I've had good experiences with them down in our township over the last 20 years. And no, I have no complaints.
Mr. Johnson, same question, Chris.
Okay. I think it's the commission's responsibility to provide good roads to the farmers so they can get to and from market, everything else. I think the most important thing, I don't think there's been many failures, but I think we need to make sure those lines to the state and the federal level stay open and good communication there so we can get the funds that we need to keep the roads in good shape.
Jerry?
As far as harm, I can't see where the commissioners have done anything, but they have done a real positive thing for Bowman County, and that they have held taxes. Our property taxes have been held as low as they can possibly hold them while they're still providing all the services that they can. And for a landowner, a farmer and a rancher, that's a pretty important thing to us. If we don't have to pay more taxes, it's a real benefit to us. And they have to be commended for what they've done.
Anybody else have anything on that question? Go ahead, Dale.
I lived 12 years in Perkins County, South Dakota. And they do not have the oil impact, the coal impact that we have here. And we are very fortunate to have it. Because where I used to live now, their land taxes are double what I pay. And they have no other resource but to raise taxes. So I think we should count our blessings here in Bowman County what we do have.
Speaking about taxes, Mr. McLaughlin, in what scenario would you support the county if it chose to add a mill levy, which would result in increased property taxes?
Well, I guess if our oil revenue really went way down, we'd have to raise our taxes. I don't want to pay, I pay taxes, I get all the rest of it, I don't want them to go up. We might have to make some cuts. That doesn't mean we have to go without services, we're probably just gonna have to tighten our belts a little bit. I don't know if that's answering your question. And also, your budget, or your taxes is based on your budget and your evaluations. If your evaluations go up, your mills could actually go down and raise the same amount of revenue. I don't know if you're familiar with the tax system, but that's how that works.
Mr. Johnson, same question.
Well, I think raising taxes should be a last resort in any case. Nobody likes taxes. As a property owner, I don't like taxes. Nobody likes them. So it would have to be a pretty last resort thing before I'd be in favor of raising any tax. And quite honestly, I don't think I would go to that level. I think we'd have to look at other things to save money. Like you said, tighten our belts and look at things to cut. So.
Mr. Anderson, same question. In what scenario would you support the county if it chose to add a mill levy, which would result in higher property taxes?
Well, we have to project our budget, our income into the county and go from there what we need to do with, we may have to do some, cut some projects but to raise taxes, no. Evaluations go up, taxes go down. So it's a tough question to answer, really. If we're going to keep our services. And to get out in rural areas, you need your services.
And Mr. McGee, same question.
Well, I think raising taxes is a last resort. I think too, biggest thing, hopefully people remember that if your taxes do raise, the county is the only one has a tendency to raise it. You have the school district, having their mills here. See people at the cities that will do that, some of the townships. So it could be that your taxes raised, but it isn't because of that county raising that what they're looking for their funding.
Yeah, I just got one thing to say. John kind of hit on that, but here a few years ago, I looked at our taxes, and we live in Bowman Township, and 2/3 of the tax went to the school system. And we got to have a good education system, don't get me wrong. But I don't know how many people are aware of that. That's a big chunk of your taxes goes for education. As a commissioner, you have no control over their budget.
Anybody else have anything to add? Go ahead, Mike.
As you mentioned earlier, crime and drugs running up and down the road. That could be an instance where they need to bring in a drug task force, it's gonna cost you $15,000. Now, if the commissioners would approve it, that would mean you could have a rate increase. Nobody wants it. I can tell you 5 of them that don't want it. And that's us that sit up on the commission seat. But that would be an example of raising it where it would absolutely be necessary.
Anybody have anything else? Next question. Bowman County recently has not seen any immediate development within its business sectors. How would you work with the Bowman County Development Corporation to expand the county business climate? And maybe list some examples and try to get more businesses in the town, Jerry?
We talked a little bit earlier about the industrial park, and I guess now that it's in place, commissioners and EDC have to work hand in hand, and I know that they do work well together. They have to work hand in hand to attract businesses that will use that facility. I believe that a few weeks ago we had a presentation that I was invited to that was put on. It's called the Main Street Success Project. And from that, it showed that Bowman County is certainly doing well. They have places for improvement. But I think we have to provide a climate, whether it be tax incentives or the use of property for a time being to attract other businesses. And that's something we got to look at.
Okay. Same question, Rick?
I think working for diversifying our economy is very important for growth in our community, and I think the EDC does a very good job of that. And I think a great opportunity for diversification and growth would be an industrial park.
Okay. Dave Anderson, next, same question.
You're probably right, Greg. Industrial park, no matter where I think it's, where it's located. But yes, that would be enticing to new businesses that maybe come in here, if they knew there was a space for them to go. Up at Stanley, their industrial park filled up. And so, but Stanley had the Bowman boom too, so I'm all for new business. But I want to put our own established businesses with tougher competition because they do pay taxes, they hire people, and they provide products and services. So let's all hope it works well.
Okay, same question, Commissioner Abrahamson, fine?
We rely on the EDC and their board of directors to give us what they are needing. They may need certain tools to work with their toolboxes. I guess I just got to rely on their expertise to bring the ideas forward. If I have an idea, I'll let them know. But I think that's their expertise.
Anybody else have anything to add on that? Good.
You know, I think in Bowman County, we're very lucky to have an active EDC, and I think they're always pursuing new businesses. You know, they brought me in here 3 years ago, and with Subway, and I think Ace Hardware was brought in. There's been many businesses, restaurants, or businesses that have come to Bowman County, and I think have provided good taxes for Bowman County. And I applaud them for that, and I think it's been really good for us. So.
All right. We have about 3 questions left. Commissioner Bratton, we'll start with you. What is your stance on the primary ballot petition that would allow the county to appoint the state's attorney rather than that position being elected?
You mean what, how I would vote on it?
No. How you feel about it? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess the petition was brought to us, and then it was up to the county commission to whether to put it on the ballot or not. And there were enough signatures that qualified for it, and we'll leave it up to the people to decide.
Mr. Johnson,
What was
same
the question?
question. What is your stance on the primary ballot petition that would allow the county to appoint the state's attorney rather than it being an elected position?
I guess, from what I understand, that's been a hard position to fill in the past through a ballot. Maybe appointing it would be the right thing, but if there was enough signatures on a petition, I think it's probably a viable option at this point. Maybe the only option if you're not getting any good candidates or qualified candidates for the position.
Commissioner Abrahamson, same question.
I really think it's up to the people to decide. That's their choice. We have struggled to keep state's attorneys here. We went through probably, and I don't even know for sure, but it seemed like we went through 3 of them in 3 years. They come here, they get into the system, and they get swept away. Big money out there. I still think it's up to the people to decide.
And Mr. Anderson, your same question.
State's attorney, I've heard pros and cons about being appointed or being elected. The county does need one. It'd be nice to hang on to one. And so we have a state's attorney with the power to fight with crime. It can be handled as such and have that person, whatever, on trial and to be convicted. Yes, but it is up to the people.
Anybody else have anything to add on that? Next question. The Bowman County Fair Board no longer receives a mill levy. Instead, most of the funds for operation and maintenance of the whole fairgrounds are provided directly from the county's general fund. If elected, would you continue to directly fund the Fair Board? Start with Mr. Jeffers.
I'm not familiar with the reason that was changed, but I'm expecting, thinking in my mind, I'm expecting that would continue as it is. Mill levies are a thing that some are mandated, some we have to have. It gives us, would give the commissioners, the situation as it is now, it gives the commissioners the option, if they have the more money available than what a mill is, or if they have less, it gives them the option of providing the Fair Board with adequate funding, whereas a mill levy would tie their hands and they'd have to give so much to them one way or the other.
Okay. Same question, Bruce.
Well, I guess I would have to say yes, keep funding it, because we've spent a lot of money, we've invested a lot of money in the facilities we've got, and they gotta be maintained and used. That's what they were put there for, us to use. And I think it'd just be foolish not to keep things up.
Same question.
Well, I feel the fair board, or that's a big part of our community. So the facilities are used for a lot of things. It supports our community, it helps our community by bringing all these things in. So I think it's necessary to fund it in some sort of way.
Same question, Dale Polcheski.
Yeah, I keep funding. It's a major part of the community up here. Fair is a tradition, young people, and that should be carried on and should be supported.
Anybody else have any questions or any answers on that? Go ahead, fine.
What a wonderful facility that we have out there. If you go across the state you listen to the people that talk about the Bowman County Fairgrounds. Second to none. How many years have we had the high school rodeo out there? It's continuing. The fairs, the ropings, the horse events, I couldn't tell you what they are. But that thing is getting used every single weekend, if not more than once during the week, many times.
Just one more thing, if I can add a little. You know, that, look at the Four Seasons. If we didn't have that facility, look at all the wedding dances and reunions that are held there, you know, and we've done a lot of improvements because the board, the current county commissioners have helped us. You know, they had the extra oil revenue, so we could improve stuff. And it might be a case where, you know, you're talking budgeting and stuff, we might have to, you know, just not do any improvements for a few years, but I think we still need to maintain it, you know, and fund it.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns? John?
What I have to say to that, I think the people of Bowman County would rather see it come out of your regular funding instead of it being a mill, because then literally they're paying more taxes, and if you're, I don't know if it's taken out of the general fund or what it's taken out of, but if you're able to still hit all your other budgets, you know, I think people will much rather see it that way.
Okay, any other comments? Okay.
All right, final question. We'll start with Mr. McGee. What is your vision for the future of Bowman, and how would you work with the commission if elected to realize that vision?
I would guess my current vision would be, right now we got the industrial park. I said it's a done deal, so it would, working with EDC to get something done with that. You know, as far as any other businesses, they're really, I mean, you can't go through them to EDC to really get anything accomplished there. Oil, that's gonna go up and down all the time, so there's nothing, I don't know if anything really would be able to add to that.
Commissioner Abrahamson, same question.
Vision for Bowman County would keep going forward. I think we've done a good job at holding the taxes as low as we can, but yet having the services we have. If the oil stays low, we're gonna have to hold back on road projects. But I still think the future looks bright for Bowman County.
Commissioner Bratton, same question.
I guess my vision is to continue to see growth and prosperity in the county. If you don't have growth, I think towns just kind of, counties, whatever, just kind of dry up and disappear if you don't keep moving on.
All right, and Mr. Anderson, same question.
Bowman County, I look at it this way, it knows where it's been, and we've done quite well up till now, so let's forge ahead for the future of Bowman County and our people.
All right. Anybody like to add to that?
I guess I'd like to see the county improve, you know, I'd like to see some, if we could get some more businesses, you know, and I realize it's tough competition. There's a lot of other towns trying to get people to move here, but I would sure like to see us get some new businesses and be able to maintain businesses we have now, without losing any more. But it'd sure be nice if we could get some more jobs in the county, and that means more taxpayers, more kids in our school system.
All right. All right, we'll now open the floor to questions from the public. If anybody has a question, you can either stand at the podium, stand up, just yell it out.
You want a question?
Uh-oh.
There's been a debate in the state for the last 4 years of the state taking over social services. What would the commissioners be? Because what the big argument's been in Bowman County hasn't been levying the maximum, but it's $23 million cost to the state. The problem is though, is that the county loses control of the social service office. Anybody want to take that? And start with
I'm on the social service board. That is my biggest fear, losing control. The reason we have low mills is because we operate with what we have. We don't want to tax more. I'm not looking forward to the state taking it over. I wish we could let our people pay for what we use. Don't get me wrong, I do like that you help, but I'd rather much keep it here in our county. If people have to go to regional center, Dickinson Center someplace, a lot of people cannot make it up there. They don't have the means to get there. And that would be another fear of mine.
It seems that any time that the state takes something over, there, in the end, ends up being more cost for the county. So I think that our commissioners and our social service board work pretty close hand in hand, and they try to hold the cost the best they can. There are state mandated mill levies that commissioners have to cover. But I think that the social service board works very hard to work within the means, and I think we need to keep that control local.
I think where the problem is with social services is in counties that are unfortunate not to have oil revenue. I've talked to some commissioners in counties that don't have any oil revenue or hardly any revenue coming in at all. And I think the maximum mills you could have is 20. And they're running in the red halfway through the year. And I think that's probably where the whole idea comes from, having the state take it over. But I wouldn't want to see the state take it completely over myself either.
Any more questions?
Since the decision was made for the county to close at noon on Friday for our convenience, do you think that that's really helped our town or not? And I know that there's some controversy on safety and stuff, but with that many offices, I would think that they would be able to close, you know, at different times or something. But when you drive on Friday afternoon and just go by the courthouse and now the city too, this town is dead. And I think that was a poor decision. And are those people shopping in Bowman, or does that give them more time to go out of town to shop? So how is that decision made, and would you ever overturn that?
I would hear that's in front of us.
I don't remember the whole reason behind it, to tell you the truth, but I know they actually work more hours in the whole week by closing at noon. They start half an hour earlier than they used to. And I'm not sure, but I think they might work half an hour later. as the town took place back when I started, so that's, I don't remember all the details on it.
One of the reasons was so that people could come to them at 12:30 and utilize the offices. If people had a dinner break from 12 to 1, and the same thing with the courthouse, if they were 12 to 1, you couldn't get in there to get a license plate or whatever. There are some people that are still dead set against it. There are still some people that think it works great. The percentage, I couldn't give you an answer, 50-50. Can it be overturned? Yes, it can be overturned.
I'd be interested in hearing from somebody other than a current commissioner and their thoughts with that question.
I think I'm the one that always comes in on Friday and comes at 1 o'clock to get something done. So, because I forget to do things until Friday. So, I like businesses to be open, you know, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or however you're going to do it, but have some continuity so you know the hours every day. I don't like it when the post office is closed at 12:45. I mean, that's when I'm doing things. So I think it's something that we'd have to look at hard, get input from the community and see how they feel about it. But I feel most jobs should be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, normal schedule.
It seems to me like every time I break down, it's at 5:45, and the implement dealers are closed, and I have a hard time dealing with that. But I do deal with it, and I think that once we get acclimated to working in the hours that they are actually there, we need to adjust our schedules if we can and work with them. I think if it's working out better for the staff, as Rick said, they're probably working more hours than they did anyway. So I think that it's probably a workable thing. We'll just have to work around things like that.
Any more questions?
I got another one. Can you ask more than one?
Oh, yeah. Make it short.
Well, as you know, the budgets are, and it's not just county budgets, but state budgets also. There's debate now, the way the state has funded the property tax relief has been mostly through K-12. We've increased the foundation aid, and we've also capped the amount of mills that an individual school district can levy. We've also added a 12.5%, which comes out to roughly a little over $200 and some million that go back out to the counties and kind of state aid on top of the state aid distribution. What if the state, and there's going to probably a real possibility that the state isn't going to cover that 12.5%. Say you do come up with 12.5% less, you know, and you've been talking about how you're going to budget for the upcoming year, and like all budgets are perspective. What would be the first? I mean, I've heard the road and bridge fund. The problem is that the gross production tax, you really can't use that for salaries and stuff. The only place in general government that you can really go back to is general government. You know, outside of the road and bridge fund, where would the commissioners look at reducing? And I can start and go all the way down. Yes, on that.
Mr. Kepnick, you get into some pretty deep questions, and I guess as a commissioner, I would have to say that if you lose 12.5%, the schools are going to have to take a look at that and work with finding a way that they can get around it, because if the county don't have it to give it to them, it's not going to happen. So hopefully that 12.5% keeps coming.
Mike wasn't on. I think the last few years we've been pretty fortunate. I think the state's been fortunate to have all this oil money, and I think it's provided a lot of money for different counties. And that's one of the things, you know, we've gotten our budgets a little higher, and we've spent a little more lavishly, but we got to tighten our belts in these slow times. You know, the times will come back, probably 5-10 years, who knows, maybe next year. But I think it's time, we have to look at every dollar spent and scrutinize every dollar spent and see what we actually don't need to be spending on and where we can shift money around.
I agree. I pretty disagree with Chris there too, because, you know, right, I think where we're getting all this money and that the departments did, I think could go a little bit crazy, and I think the department heads would know where they'd be able to cut if they come down to that decision that they'd have to make some budget cutting. I think they know where they could cut. So.
If you're not making it, don't spend it.
It's kind of like every 2 years. Every 2 years, the state has a new plan, and we gotta follow it. It's, a lot of our mills are state mandated levy. Am I right? And if something like that comes around, we've got to figure out how to fix it. It's about as simple as that can be, in my eyes.
Well, first thing, like Pine said, a lot of your mills, you don't have any control over. And as far as making any cuts, you're just gonna have to prioritize where you can make cuts and where you can't. And, you know, whether it's on road projects or maybe it's on, like somebody else mentioned, the schools. Yeah, I guess it's not gonna be easy to cut. Nobody wants to take a pay cut. And it was mentioned earlier, you know, you really don't wanna start laying people off, because what if they leave? What's it cost to retrain somebody? Whether it's an office job or on a piece of equipment, you can't just grab somebody off the street, put them on it, and expect them to do the same job as somebody that's been doing it for 10 years.
We need to look at the budget and work on the projected revenue and decide what projects are gonna be prioritized and how it's gonna be funded, but we cannot. It's good that the county's always been able to pay for stuff, and we don't wanna go over budget. So we have what I call a rainy day fund, because you never know what's gonna happen in the county where we may need them monies.
Okay. Do any city commissioners have any questions? How about you? No? Anybody else? No? All right. All right, so now we're going to ask each candidate to deliver their closing remarks, beginning with Bruce. Mr. McLaughlin.
Well, I guess I don't have a whole lot to say other than I just like to try to help the community. I've been involved in other organizations and pretty much just donate a lot of time to and try to help the community out and provide good services and try to keep the taxes low.
As a board, we do not always agree, but we do come together with difficult decisions for the residents, that's you, the taxpayers, and the county as a whole. Thank you again for your support in the past years, and I would appreciate your continued support. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody here for the opportunity. I would love to serve the people. I think it'd be a good experience, learning experience. I'd probably make mistakes, I probably wouldn't be the best, but I would do my best. And Everybody have a good evening, safe trip home. Thank you.
Yeah, thank Bryce and now Trevor, media, whoever else put this on. Thanks to those that attended tonight. And I don't know, did you get this live stream? And of course, to the ones listening. I want to thank the rest of the candidates too for giving that people different choices up here. It's nice to see a lot of candidates out for us. As an automobile technician, I'm always continuing to educate myself. As a commissioner, I would be just as dedicated at that. Feeling good at attacking problems and taking them head on. And I'll listen to people's concerns and take them into consideration before a decision is made. Many of you come to me when you have a problem with your vehicles. All of you can come to me with your county concerns. On June 14th, your vote for Dominique would be greatly appreciated.
I guess I'd like to make a comment about our county employees. All the way down the line, they provide us as commissioners with a lot of information. Because we don't, I'll be the first one to admit, we don't know it all. But if we have a question about something, you go to any of them and they'll answer it for you. And we base our decisions a lot on what they tell us. Other than that, I guess everyone has an opinion. In my opinion, what makes a good commission board is being able to listen to all sides of an issue. The willingness to accept the results of a vote, even if it doesn't go the way you want. And trying to do what is best for the majority of the citizens of Bowman County. I would appreciate your vote and continued support as your county commissioner.
So I brought a whole sheet of notes here and I was gonna try and stick to the topics, and I guess this is probably the only time I'm gonna go to my notes, and I did write a closing speech, but
30 seconds.
30 seconds. I'd like to thank you guys first, and yes, I've chosen to raise my family in this community. I call this home. I'm proud to say this is my home. My kids love it here, my wife loves it here, we feel comfortable here, we're at home here. I think I can do a really good job for you as Bowman County Commissioner. I have the intelligence, the common sense, and the guts to do the job. And I'll do whatever it takes to make this place great. So I do that with the help of your vote. Thank you.
My two main goals as county commissioner are to keep taxes low, yet provide the services that we now enjoy, and the other would be for positive economic growth. I thank the Pioneer and I thank Mr. Martin for holding this. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little about myself and what I think is important for Bowman County. I'm asking that you go to the polls, and do go to the polls on June 14th and vote for Jerry Jeffers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for attending this forum. I would appreciate your vote on June 14th. By all means, do go out and vote. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My ear is always open to the residents of Bowman County. Thank you and have a good night.
The Bowman County Pioneer would like to thank each candidate for participating in our forum. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Bowman Lodging Convention Center and Bronson's Marketplace. And also thanks to my co-moderator, Trevor Stake, and the Bowman County Farm Bureau. We invite the candidates and members of the public to stick around and meet with the candidates if they'd like. Thank you very much and good night.